Hi, this is katzcradul. This is a video on how to make a hot winter drink mix, an orange spice drink that we just love. A lot of people might know a drink very similar to this called Russian tea, and the only difference is that recipe calls for instant tea. We don't drink tea, so I leave that out. But if you like tea and you like that flavor, feel free to add that in, and you'll find lots of recipes for that on the internet. We love this drink, and I start by using orange drink mix that I purchased from the LDS cannery. But you can find similar drink mixes in your grocery store, or even it's very much like Tang, so you could use that if you had to. I just happen to have a lot of this that I need to use up, so I'm going to use it. It also calls for lemonade mix. Now you can use this lemonade mix, or you could use a Kool-Aid, a packet of unsweetened Kool-Aid. You would just need to add more sugar, make the adjustment there. So now we've got the orange drink mix, the lemonade mix. I use pure cane sugar. You can use any kind of granulated sugar. C&H happens to be one of the brands I like because I know it's cane sugar and that's not being genetically modified yet. And then I've got 3 spices. I'm going to use ground cloves, ground cinnamon, and ground ginger. I thought I had made a video on how I dehydrate my own ginger, but I haven't. I will do that in the future. I grind it up. I put it on my dehydrator trays when it's dry. Then I pulverize it into a powder with my spice grinder. And I'll show you how to do that sometime. The original recipe for this does not call for ground ginger, but I like to add it to this winter drink mix because if somebody has some kind of sickness where they feel slightly nauseated, the ginger will help to settle their stomach, and it has other medicinal properties as does the cinnamon. So I like to add the 3 spices. So let me show you how I mix it together. All right, let me just get my orange drink mix open here. This lasts a really long time. I've only had this, I guess, 2 years, but I've kept it much longer in the past. So I just zipped that off with some scissors. I almost got all the sticky part apart there. You just iron that together with an iron to seal that Mylar bag. I do not put an oxygen absorber in with orange drink mix because it has sugar in it. You never use an oxygen absorber with sugar. Did you see how the strip I cut off the bag magically disappeared off the table? That's my good helper Prepper trying to keep things clean and tidy for me. So there's the orange drink mix. Here comes the lemonade mix. And I'm making a huge batch, so I'm going to use all that lemonade mix. And I put my cane sugar into my canister right there, so I'm going to scoop that out. I'm going to use 3 big tablespoons for this huge batch. And then here comes the cinnamon. I just measured it in my hand. That's the easiest way for me to tell how much I have. There's 1, and I'm going to put 1 more. Yeah, it'll stain my hand brown for a minute, but that's all right. Here's some cloves. I'm careful with the cloves because that's a very intense flavor. And then now with the ground ginger. Okay? And then I begin stirring it up. And it takes a while to stir it up because all the ingredients have different weights. The orange drink mix is a little heavy and the spices are light. And I just keep mixing it until I don't see any veins of the brown cinnamon anymore. And this does take just a little while, but I'm patient. And if I see any clumps there, I just use the back of the spoon and break them apart. And just keep stirring. When it gets homogeneous looking, I know that I'm done. Try not to make a big mess there. All right, and here's how it looks when it's all mixed together. Prepper made me a mug of boiling water, and now I'm just going to add 3 teaspoons of the mix to it. Stir it up. What I'm looking for here when I taste it is to make sure that it is sweet enough so that it would not be tart and unpleasant to a child, and also to make sure that the spices come through, that I have enough of them where I can taste each of those flavors when I taste it. And sure enough, it did need a little bit more sugar and a little more cinnamon. I could taste the clove and ginger, but needed a little bit more cinnamon. So I made those adjustments there. Such a nice deep orange color, and it's so soothing. As soon as I got it just perfect, of course, Prepare wanted some. And then she immediately went and made her another mug of it, and would have had a third if I didn't hold her off. I was afraid she was going to ruin her supper. So it just makes good sense to use that empty lemonade container. So I'm going to fill that first. It'll be perfect to have in the breakfast cabinet on cold winter mornings. And a funnel really helps here. So now I've got it filled. Once I got the lid on, I decided it kind of looks like a little snowman. You could probably draw some little buttons on it, put some eyes and a scarf, and give it as a gift, a simple gift to someone that you needed to give something to. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the quart jars here. When I get them filled, I'm going to vacuum seal them and just put them in my long-term storage area, although we'll probably use most of them this winter. A funnel really helps here to get that flyaway powdery mix in. And now I've got all the mix in jars, and I've labeled it Winter Drink Mix with the date 12/13. And I ended up with 4 quart jars in the little lemonade container that I have. That's more than enough for this winter. Probably will get us into the first part of next winter, and I'm so glad to have it on my shelf. I knew last week when Prepare said one day that she felt a little sore throat, the first thing I went to go look for was to see if I had any of this made, and I didn't. So now I'm glad I have it done. I want to tell you just a really short story about this drink mix. The day before Thanksgiving, Wednesday before Thanksgiving in 1999, I got as sick as I have ever been. I left at about 10 minutes to 7 to drive down to church where I was had a leadership role with our church youth group. And I got there, it was only a short drive to church. I got there about 5 minutes to 7. I went into our big cultural hall where the kids were playing basketball before our meeting started, and I sat down. And by the time the meeting started at 7 o'clock, now I had only been there 5 minutes, I was sicker than a dog. I have never felt so bad. It started 1 minute with a little bitty sore throat, then a headache, and then all of my body ached. I have never had anything come on that fast. And in fact, right at 7 o'clock, one of the adults there with me, a friend of mine, said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "I'm sick." She said, "You weren't sick when you came in." I said, "I know. It's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, but I don't know if I can drive myself home." And I stood up, and I thought I could make it the 5 minutes back home. I got in the car, got home. My husband said, "What are you doing back?" I said, "I'm sick." And he said, "What? You weren't sick when you left?" I'm like, "I know, but I'm sick now." I sat down in the Lazy Boy recliner. I started shaking like a leaf. I was shivering. He went and got 3 quilts and piled them on top of me. And at about 8 o'clock, when that youth activity was over, my same friend who saw how sick I was came knocking on my door, and she had a jar of this drink mix in her hand, and she told my husband, I couldn't even talk to her. I felt so bad I couldn't even talk. And she said to him, "You make her drink a cup of this. You mix 3 teaspoons in a cup. You make her drink a cup of this at least once every 2 hours, and don't let her stop. She'll get well." And I thought that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard, but I started drinking this stuff like crazy, and I'm sure it had to do with the vitamin C in it. And in a few days I was well. Now I was miserable for a couple of days, but I'm sure this contributed to my healing. I have no doubt about it, because with the first cup I felt better. Now, I'm not saying that this drink is a miracle cure or that it will make you feel better when you're sick, but it did make me feel better. And there was something about the combination of spices in it that really opened up my breathing passages and made my head feel clearer, and was actually very soothing and comforting to me. I hope you'll try it and that you'll like it. I like warm fruited drinks during the winter. I also posted another video last year on a mulled apricot cider. I will post a link to that here in the upper left-hand corner of the picture. You can click on that if you haven't seen that video and if you like warm drinks like this during the winter. I just think they're delicious. I hope you give this a try. Let me know how you like it. And until next time, this is Katzcradul.